Welcome into NBA Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Chase Sr. Coming up on today's show, I'm going to take all of your questions as part of our Mailbag segment. There's a couple of ways for you to get involved. You can subscribe and join our live mailbags every single week. We've basically been live for every single day of NBA free agency, and throughout the summer, we're going to continue to go live right here on NBA Now. So subscribe down below, youtube.com/chatsportstv, so that you can get your questions by me and you can be a part of the show. Always love these segments because we get to chop it up together and talk some hoop. We start off this mailbag with this question coming in from the Gold Eagle 99. It's a $10 super chat. I predict Chet Holmgren will average 17 points per game with 1.5 blocks and be top 5 in Rookie of the Year award voting. What say you, Chase? I think 17 points per game is a little bit lofty. At Gonzaga, he was about 14 points per game. I do think that he could average more than 1.5 blocks. Now, I get scared about Chet going on the low block against a big physical player like Joel Embiid. We saw what Kenneth Lofton was able to do, put his shoulder into him, and Chet Holmgren really struggled physically going up against a big, beefy player like that. But what he lacks in size and weight and strength, he makes up for it with a ridiculously long wingspan. So he's able to make up for it by, even if he gets back down and loses some position down low, he has those really long arms. So around 4 blocks per game with the Zags last year in his freshman campaign, I think it could be realistically around 2. He has such a great knack for protecting the rim. Chualor with this question, do you think the Warriors can win the championship again, and can the Warriors sign Mac McClung to a 2-way contract? I'll tell you this, he has been a diamond in the rough for Golden State. He was behind a couple of players with the Los Angeles Lakers in their summer league play in the California Classic. He goes to the Warriors because an opportunity presented itself for MacClung to get more minutes. And this past Sunday night, in a win against the San Antonio Spurs, he was doing it all. Getting to the rack, displaying some burst in athleticism, had a couple of really fine and creative finishes around the rim, up and under, finishing among the trees, had a really good behind-the-back pass, little pull-up jumper as well. Athletically, he could play at the NBA level. Has to get a little bit better defensively. My comp for him, can he become Alex Caruso? Not defensively, but he's a better offensive player. I think that Mac McClung can make this team, and I think it'd be wise to maybe bring him in at least throughout training camp and preseason to give him a chance to make the roster. By the way, make sure you subscribe to our Warriors channel. It's youtube.com/WarriorsTV. We go to this question from Davey Dingo. What guard could the Mavericks trade for to help replace Jalen Brunson? The popular conversation continues to hover around Colin Sexton, who I think is an underrated player up to this point. According to the Cleveland Plain Dealer, there hasn't been much of a market for Colin Sexton, which surprises me because his second and third years, he was between 20 and 24 points per game. If I'm Dallas, I'm making a call to Cleveland and I'm asking them, what do you want? We can give you Dwight Powell. We can trade away Tim Hardaway Jr. You want Davis Bertans to play alongside Darius Garland as a really good sniper three-point shooter? That's fine. Outside of that, what guards can the Mavericks bring in? That could be a sign-and trade, free agency, maybe a player like a Dennis Schroeder or somebody else, but slim pickings right now at this point in NBA free agency. Let me ask you this question. Who will be the next player traded? Will it be Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving? Let me know. Give me a name or names in the comment section right now. Pop Johnson next up in our mailbag. Who is your top 5 underrated rookies going into the season? Is Keegan Murray underrated because he got selected number 5? Is Benedict Mathurin a little bit underrated? He's been tearing it up in the Summer League alongside Keegan Murray. Those are 2 right there. I think E.J. Liddell can get minutes for the New Orleans Pelicans. I'm thinking of some other player. Jalen Williams, I think, is a really good selection as a 3-and-D guy who could get minutes right away because those types of players, they're needed on an NBA roster. I think that people are sleeping on Jabari Smith. They're ripping him, saying he's going to be a bust. I think he's going to be just fine. So those are some of the players that I'm looking at. How about Colin Gillespie as an undrafted free agent out of Villanova, a guy who also has been playing well for the Nuggets in the Summer League? Joseph, do you see the Pelicans making any changes to the roster before the start of the year? I don't think they need to. They are in a really good position. They have their coach in Willie Green, who I thought was really good last year. There's a risk with signing Zion to that contract, but there are some outs and clauses in that where if he gets hurt, you can free yourself financially. Brandon Ingram, one of the best young scorers in the league. CJ McCollum, a good, complementary piece to Ingram. And since CJ McCollum isn't the best defensive player, you have to have good defenders. You got it, Jose Alvarado as well as Herb Jones. Like the makings of the roster is really, really good. And then Dyson Daniels, a really good draft addition, a guy who also might be underrated, and he could contribute in year one as a really good defender. Evan Hinders, is it true Lonzo Ball's injury is worse than expected, and that's why Chicago signed Goran Dragic? It is believed to be a little bit worse than expected. This was a couple of weeks ago when there were some reports about the Bulls being very concerned about Lonzo's knee injury moving forward, and it's crazy because nothing in the moment was like that severe. It's not like he shredded his knee during a game and you watch it and you're like, oh my goodness, there was that report of him being injured, and then from that point, we never saw him again this year. You don't sign Dragic thinking that Lonzo isn't going to play. You're signing Dragic to be Lonzo's backup, and hopefully Lonzo is able to figure that knee out, maybe get a PRP injection overseas like some really good players have been able to do over time, because he's a fun basketball player to watch, and the NBA's a better game when he's playing for Chicago because that roster, it's really good around him. LFG123, LFG. If Patrick Beverley gets bought out, would the Philadelphia 76ers be a good fit? I think so. And it would make the Sixers a very interesting team in the Eastern Conference just because of some of the dogs that they have on the squad. Joel Embiid, he's never scared. We know PJ Tucker doesn't have any fear. The same can be said for DeAnthony Melton. There's like those x-ray pictures of taking a look at DeAnthony Melton's x-ray. You see that pit bull head in the chest? That's what Patrick Beverley has as well. I think that he would give the Sixers veteran leadership, really good defense, occasional ball handling responsibilities outside of James Harden, as well as Tyrese Maxey. He can hit the three from time to time. If he's hovering around 37, 38%, that's a win considering what he adds on the defensive end of the floor. And it seems as though everywhere he goes, that team makes the playoffs. So he adds to the winning culture, and him playing in Philadelphia, the fans would lose their shit at the thought of Patrick Beverley putting on a Sixers uniform, then hopping up on the scores table to get the crowd juiced up. You can watch our NBA content on YouTube. You can also catch it on Rumble as well. Make sure you give us a follow at rumble.com/NBA now. We're talking free and uncensored content, sports, news, politics, tech, and business outside of what we do here at Chat Sports. You can find that from other places as well. We continue to grow the platforms that you use, so make sure you give us a follow. It's rumble.com/NBA now. $2 super chat coming in from Black Mariner. Thoughts on Scotty Pippen Jr.? He's actually played pretty well throughout the Summer League. He has created on a pretty consistent basis. He has become and been a better scorer than I thought, and I mean that from an efficiency standpoint. At Vanderbilt, wasn't really a good three-point shooter, wasn't really an efficient offensive player, but he's had efficiency to his game. Has a nice little shiftiness and a little wiggle too. I don't know if he's going to make the roster, but so far he's played good, and that's props to him. James, is there a way that Kevin Durant gets traded to the Lakers to form a new super team alongside LeBron James and Anthony Davis? Side note, do you think Trey Lance will be the starting quarterback for the 49ers? I cover the Niners here at Chat Sports. Yes, I think Trey Lance is going to be the starting quarterback. All this arm fatigue talk, I'm not buying into it. If you change your motion, you're going to deal with soreness. That's what happened with Trey, but a lot of you are just watching this for the NBA aspect. So, KD getting traded to the Lakers. It sounds like a great idea. KD playing with LeBron and AD, that's awesome. But if that's the case, what are you giving up to bring in KD? You do not have the assets to trade for Kevin Durant. The Brooklyn Nets are not going to take a 2027 first-round pick, another future first, and Russell Westbrook and Talen Horton-Tucker. That's just not going to move the needle. There are going to be better trade packages out there. So for the Lakers, you just have to keep dreaming. Let's get to this from Arthur. Who is too loyal, Bradley Beal or Dame? They're both loyal. Dame is going to get paid a lot of money. And for a smaller-ish guard, that concerns me. And for Bradley Beal, no trade clause, one of 10 players to have that in the history of the NBA. Both are loyal. Dame wants to stay in the Pacific Northwest. Bradley Beal in the nation's capital. We know in the player empowerment era, those things can change overnight, and they can demand a trade tomorrow. So we'll see what happens, but they have been very loyal to the teams that drafted them. What is your favorite part of the NBA offseason? This is always a good question. F for free agency, T for trades. Let me know right now in the comment section. I'm going F for free agency. T for trades, yeah, it's fun, but free agency is really fun to speculate on and more realistic. Luke Byrne, Jaden Hardy is the steal of the draft. The Mavericks think so. The Mavericks really like Jaden Hardy, and I like the pick of him, considering where they got him at, I believe, the 40 range. Jaden Hardy in his first game in the NBA Summer League was great. We were watching it live, and right away, I could just tell. This guy has NBA scoring ability, and he can score from all three levels. Now, there are going to be some nights where he drives you crazy, takes some ill-advised shots, and turns the basketball over and hits a cold spell. But there are other nights where he can really turn it on and has a lot of offensive moves in his toolbox. And because of that, I think he's going to be able to stay in the league for a long time. And because of his offensive pedigree and offensive upside, as a guy who was a top 5 high school recruit before going to the G League, I think he could get minutes in year 1. Super Smarty Pants. Looking ahead to the next offseason, should the Lakers try to sign Khris Middleton in NBA free agency? Middleton would be interesting on the Lakers. Now, you think about this. Russell Westbrook's contract off the books. LeBron James, he could leave if he really wanted to. He's going into the final year of his deal. He'll be an unrestricted free agent, barring a re-sign there on that front. So let's say the Lakers bring back LeBron James. They let go of Russell Westbrook. It opens up a max slot on that team. They could go after a player like Khris Middleton on the wing, who I think would be a nice addition on both ends of the floor for Los Angeles. It's certainly interesting. Daniel, do you think the Cavaliers will re-sign Collin Sexton? At this point, it looks that way. Sexton is a good player. He's coming off a knee injury, which he's expected to make a full recovery from. And when he's right, when he's healthy, he's a very good scoring combo guard. So him and Darius Garland, there's been mixed reviews as to whether or not that will work. But I do think Collin Sexton going back to Cleveland would interest me. And if it doesn't work out, use him as a trade chip going into the NBA trade deadline. So Cleveland, certainly an interesting squad. Cursina, Lakers are a 30-win team next year. Oof, my goodness, that is bleak. If LeBron and AD are healthy, they're just too good to not win 30 games or to be at that 30-win mark. Like, that's bad. That's bad. We're talking 30-52. That is just atrocious after a year in which they were not good. I think with a healthy LeBron and AD as currently constructed, they're about a 45-win team, which, that'll get you in the playoffs. Who will win the NBA title next year? Do you think it'll be the Lakers? I don't. Do you think it's going to be another team? If so, let me know who you got in the comment section right now.